Hi everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing two colorful card projects featuring some brand new pattern paper from Waffle Flower Crafts. Everyday Papers for Card Making is a collection of 80-pound weight pattern papers, and these are fantastic, especially for simple card projects that you want to be colorful and fun, but you don't have to bust out any special inks or other mediums to create something really colorful. So let's take a look at some of the products I'm using today. This pad, called JJ's Rainbows, designed by JJ Bolton, is my pad of choice today, and it is full of wonderful, basic, classic rainbow patterns, and the paper is 5.5 by 8.5, so you can actually use any of these and fold them in half and just use these as your actual card. But what I'm going to do is play a little with these patterns and some die cuts and have a little fun today. I'm going to be using this Big Dots sentiment set here from Waffle Flower, and there's a really cool die that will cut out a whole panel of little circles. See that guy right there? And those sentiments fit right into that center area. And I'm going to be doing a second card project as well, and I'll be sharing that and the products I'm using as we get through here. So let's get started. First things first, I'm going to cut my circle panel out of a piece of Neenah Solar White Classic Crest. This is the 110-pound weight. And just kind of pop all those little circles out, and I'll set that aside for a second and do a little more die cutting. I'm going to take one of Waffle Flower's A2 layers dies in the same size and cut out a piece of this rainbow pattern paper for my first card project. And that die cuts the exact same size, so that's a nice fit. Next, I will take one of the sentiments from the Big Dots sentiment set and place this down. I'm using my MISTI tool today, getting that lined up in the center. I'm going to ink it up with some Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that down. I decided to hit it a second time just because it's a pretty new stamp and I have not used this a bunch, so I wanted to get another great impression. Sometimes when your stamps are brand new, it takes a little while for them to get conditioned to make perfect impressions every time. Little pressure there, and happy birthday is in place. I'll use a little spray adhesive, and I'm going to spray this off camera into a box just to add a nice little layer of adhesive. And once that's on, I'm going to bring my Scor-Pal out, because this is really nice for just quickly lining things up. You just press everything into the corner, just like that. You are lined up and good to go. I'll prep my card base. This is going to be a US A2 card, top folding. That will be 4 1/4 wide by 5.5 tall. I like to tape my card bases closed while I'm working on them just because this cardstock is thick and it likes to pop up. Smooth and ready. I've got some foam tape on the back of the panel, and I'm going to pop that up right on top of the card base with just that nice little, about a 1/8 inch of margin space around the edge. To finish off this card, I'm going to grab a few of these little Waffle Flower enamel dots. I love them. I'm running out of the larger size, but I love these because they're clear with a little tiny sparkle to them, and of course they're self-adhesive, so no mess, so easy, and this first card is done. Let's move on to card 2. I went ahead and cut a panel of another one of the patterns, and I'm going to use this large Love You die, which is just fantastic. I'm going to cut 3 out of some Neenah Solar White cardstock. I'm going to do that off camera, and I'm going to use Connect glue to adhere these die cuts together to create some dimension. Sometimes I prefer the liquid glue just because it has a little more playtime, helps you line things up. I love spray adhesive, but sometimes when I use it, I get things off a little and then I can't unglue them. But the liquid glue lets you kind of wiggle and move things around and make sure a big die cut like this is nicely lined up. So I will repeat that process for 3 stacks. Now I've got some foam tape on the back of this panel, and the nice thing about this pattern paper is that it is 80-pound cardstock. So you can do things like pop it up. It's not as light as your classic pattern paper might be, and I love that. It gives you more options for using it in building your card projects. I'll add my liquid adhesive and pop that big die cut right onto the card base. Isn't that pretty? It's just so simple and graphic. I really like how this looks. I decided I was going to grab one of the coordinating sentiments from the stamp set, and I didn't know if I wanted to do so much or to pieces, so I'm just going to stamp them both onto a piece of black cardstock. Again, use my MISTI tool, prep the area with my embossing magic to remove all the static and possibly any oil on the cardstock, ink it up with the Versamark, and stamp. I'm going to emboss these in white, and I've got some Brutus Monroe Alabaster white powder. Just sprinkle that on, get a nice coating, let that fall, hit it again, and then tap off the excess. Now for any that didn't come off, I'm just going to grab a little dry brush that I keep in my craft area and just brush off in these strategic places where I know this part is going to show up on my trimmed sentiment. Get my heat tool nice and hot and hit it to melt the powder. Just like that. Now I'm going to use one of my sentiment label dies to quickly trim out the so much. I decided to go with so much. It's basic, it's classic. I'll cut that off camera and trim it down to size, and then use some thin foam squares to pop this up right underneath. Now I decided to bring in my clear T-square just because the angled pattern paper was kind of throwing my eye off, but the T-square does not lie. To finish the card, just a few silver sequins sprinkled around the love you sentiment, and that is my finished card project number 2. I love this. It's so graphic, but look at all that color. This is what's so great. Pattern paper is such a great way to add color to your cards. So you don't have to be all inky to make fancy, colorful cards. Check out this new release of pattern papers, or dig through your stash at home and see how you can use pattern paper to add color to your projects today. Thanks so much for watching today. I would love to have you become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the gray bell below the video so that you don't miss the next time I post. Here are a couple other videos that you might be interested in watching. Thanks so much and have a great day.